Recently I've been trying out a few different guns in Battlefield 5, and one of the weapons that I've been having a bit of joy with is the MP28. Now with patch 4.4, DICE have changed a few things with the weapons, which means a couple of choices will be slightly better than they were before. The SMGs have received a few changes, and in particular the MP28 has had some alterations. I'll get into those in a bit more detail later on in the video, but starting out I'll give you a bit of background on the MP28, and you can see some gameplay of it in the background as well. It's a hipfire machine, and it's definitely a weapon you should be using. The MP28 is a German submachine gun that was designed by Hugo Schmeisser in 1928. It was an improved version of the World War I era MP18 that many who played Battlefield 1 will be familiar with. The MP28 differed from the MP18 in that it was fed from straight box magazines, featured a fire selector, and used a wide diameter return spring rather than a guide rod. The MP28 was sold to both China and Japan amongst other countries, and also for those that are interested in a bit of trivia, you will notice that the MP28 isn't exactly represented correctly in some of the promotional material for Battlefield. I believe it's missing a magazine in a couple of shots, and then it also has the MP18 magazine that they may have ported straight from Battlefield 1. The weapon is exceptionally good when you give it the hipfire spec with 50 rounds and a very accurate hipfire spray. It's one of those weapons that many people miss out on because they're focused on others such as the Suomi or the Tommy gun. I was like that myself, and then I thought, well, why not try out some of the other SMG weapons considering DICE have buffed them, and I'm very glad I did. With the 4.4 patch updates, we have seen some balance changes that will make things a little easier for those using SMGs in the medic class. We can now expect to see improved hipfire accuracy while jumping for sidearms, SMGs, pistol carbines, bolt-action carbines, and assault rifles. The enhanced grip specialization will also offer even better hipfire than before, again leading to buffs to the MP28 in particular. If we do look at specific MP28 changes, DICE have reduced the maximum vertical recoil to 0.68 from 0.7, and reduced the horizontal recoil to 0.66 from 0.75 and 0.55 from 0.6 with the ported barrel specialization. This, combined with a reduced recoil pattern, means that the MP28 is laser accurate, and you only have to hipfire, which is pretty awesome. Let's take a little look at the loadout and the specializations you should be running with the MP28. Starting with the loadout, I would always suggest you take smoke, both in terms of smoke grenades and then with the smoke grenade launcher. Smoke is essential on aggressive modes like grind, where you want to be flanking around the side of the enemy, smoking them out and then taking them down, and I think the MP28 complements that sort of playstyle perfectly. As for a sidearm, it's up to you, but the Mark 6 revolver is always a go-to for me. There are others there, but I think the Mark 6 is still the best due to that one-shot headshot capability. Moving on to the specializations, the first one you can pick from is slings and swivels, which will allow you to switch weapons 15% faster and shoot sooner after sprinting, or alternatively you can pick quick aim, which allows you to aim down your weapon sights 33% faster. As I'm hip firing most of the time, and also I would like to be able to shoot faster after sprinting with that aggressive playstyle, the top left, swings and swivels, is what I go for. Then you are forced to pick two of the following four options. I choose polished action and an extended magazine. Polished action reduces the accuracy penalty from firing and hipfire, allowing you to fire for longer, whilst the extended magazine boosts your ammunition count to 50 before you need to reload. You could go on the right hand side and go for a custom stock, which improves your accuracy in aimed fire while moving, and then the ported barrel, which improves your recoil and you get less horizontal recoil, but overall I feel as if the extended mag, and as I'm hip firing with the weapon, the polished action provides more for my playstyle. Finally, you can pick between enhanced grips and lightened stock. Enhanced grips will allow hipfire to become more accurate, increasing the range within you can hipfire effectively. Again, perfect for this hipfire specification. The lightened stock will enable you to move 60% faster while aiming with your weapon. That suits more of a right hand side playstyle in my opinion, but it might be something you pick if you prefer to ADS more often. In combination with this specialization tree, I also take into account some stuff that DICE changed in the last patch. Some interesting changes that will also impact the way you play, allowing for more aggressive tactics and different routes on maps such as Rotterdam and Twisted Steel, where dropping off the bridge to flank is essential, have been added. Players can now glide slightly more with the parachute, which is more like what we saw in BF4, not quite to that extent, but definitely better than what we initially had in Battlefield 5. You can also fall from an increased height without taking lethal fall damage, meaning you can jump off the bridge on Twisted Steel and survive the fall with a parachute, which is perfect for flanking. The parachute can also now be opened a little bit earlier when falling, allowing you to use the parachute to save you from some of the previous lethal falls. The reason these changes are so important is because it opens up lots of potential options for the player. You no longer have to jump into water from the bridge on Twisted Steel and can in fact use the parachute in a similar way to what we had in previous Battlefield games, which is perfect. I'd suggest using this weapon on Grind. It is one of the best infantry modes I've played in Battlefield, and this is because it suits the style of gameplay DICE have produced in Battlefield 5 and allows players to flank those prone MMG users and pull off epic back rages whilst capping objectives. If that isn't your thing, you can also hold down a set of fortifications or prevent enemies from pushing you using the selection of tools DICE have provided. No vehicles means playing medic is absolutely essential. You can revive people, and having a hipfire weapon that can work at close to medium range is just exactly what Grind requires. Now by the time this video goes out, Grind will either have disappeared or will be on its way out, but don't worry, we do have private servers on the way, and DICE, assuming that they have a brain, will definitely keep Grind in the rotation because people enjoy playing it, and surely, in a game like Battlefield 5 where there is so much wrong with it, keeping the one thing that some people enjoy should be important. A few tips for the medic class: always maximise the map, flank where you can and make sure that you clear out parts of buildings and use the verticality, especially with the new parachute mechanics, to gain an advantage. Learn the places to peek from and flank. You definitely don't want to be running straight on into MMG fire even with smoke, because you'll just get torn to pieces. Build fortifications, but more importantly, learn how to use them to your advantage. If you see a fortification in front of you, the chances are somebody's built it and there's a few people hiding behind it. Pre-firing corners is really strong in the medic class. Slide round, pre-fire, get back behind cover to safety. It'll gain you so many kills against camping enemies. I see this a lot, especially with squad leaders in Grind. Forgetting to use your squad call-ins is really stupid. Lots of people save up for them for the V1, or maybe they go for artillery, but I feel as if the squad drop with the supplies and then the squad smoke call-in are two of the most important call-ins in the game. And finally, you want to complement your squad in Battlefield 5. Quite often it's important to have someone who can take out a tank, someone who can push as a medic, somebody who can put a spawn beacon down as a scout player. I personally though think in Grind you are fine with 4 medics or 3 medics and a scout to place a beacon down. This is why the mode is so much fun. It brings back some of those Battlefield 3 moments where everyone's playing medic or engineer and everybody's getting up close and personal in these close quarters engagements. It's hectic and it's great fun for all. I think the biggest thing that surprised me with the MP28 is not only the fact that it's really good at hip firing people, but it also has a 50 round magazine, which is quite rare for medic weapons. Now I only thought the Thompson and the Suomi had a 50 round mag, I never realised the MP28 did, and it opens up some great opportunities. Sometimes you'll be against 1-2 enemies and maybe the ZK with 30 rounds is enough for you, but too often in Battlefield 5 I find myself coming up against 4 players, maybe 5, and having those few extra rounds make the difference. Being able to ADS and effectively kill people as well is another thing that surprised me about this weapon. It's not purely like the Suomi, CQB, hipfire, sprays. It can hold its own at slightly longer ranges and it's very, very simple to use. There's barely any recoil, it's incredibly easy to use, especially with the large magazine, and essentially you've got a weapon that will do it all. Make sure you try it out, let me know in the comments if you already have. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.